This will mark our second attempt to catch the Super Heavy booster at the launch tower, as well as
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Booster Raptor, chamber pressure nominal.
Booster and ship, avionics, power, and telemetry nominal.
All right, we're just a little over a minute
maximum
into flight.
dynamic pressure.
We're about 6 miles away, so all the sound's still hitting us here. Hearing good call-outs that power telemetry nominal, that's flying straight and true. We do see all 33 Raptor engines lit up on telemetry screens. At this point, we've passed through that point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, that max Q. Now, coming up in just a little over a minute from now is going to be hot staging. So we're going to see the 6 engines on the ship ignite while still attached to the booster. Just before that, we'll see all but 3 center engines on the booster shut down. In what we call MECO, it's most engines cut off instead of main engine. And so while we continue to watch it go up, a lot of our flight controllers looking at all the systems around the tower. Again, we have to send a manual command. Just about 30 seconds away from hot staging. And we heard the tower is go for catch.
Booster engine cut off.
The return flag is set for true.
Ship engine start up. Stage separation.
All right, hot staging confirmed.
Booster
6 out of
boost
6
back
lit on the ship. Booster boost back going. We heard that we are go for catch. Kate, Jesse, take out the views. Hopefully I got a booster coming home real soon.
Wow, from our view here, Dan, great views of planet Earth behind that Super Heavy booster. Right now it is performing the
Ship
boost back burn.
nominal.
Good news there, telling us that the pressures inside the ship are good. That is the second stage, or the upper portion of the vehicle. Follow along with the telemetry on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, booster is currently, Super Heavy is currently in its boost back burn. This boost back burn,
Avionics, power, and telemetry nominal.
this boost back burn lasts just a little bit over a minute, so we've got a little, approximately 30 seconds left.
We've had shutdown of that boost back burn. Up next will be hot stage jettison. The view from the camera on the left, or from the booster on the left-hand side of your screen, and then tracking cam there on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll see those grid fins.
Booster offshore divert.
And we can also see that the hot stage has been jettisoned.
Yes, visual confirmation of that there on your screen, which is great. Now the next
Starship is following a nominal trajectory.
The next step for booster is going into that landing burn. Again, it'll light up 13 of those engines and then pare down to 3 engines right before booster catch.
All right, now just real quick, we did hear the call out, booster offshore divert. Unfortunately, that means that we are no-go for the catch. As we said before, both the tower and the vehicle, as well as the operators on console, have been actively evaluating the commit criteria for that return to the launch tower. And unfortunately, we did not have a pass on those commit criteria. So we are no-go for tower catch.
And we did mention that we're constantly evaluating the criteria for catch. There's a lot of things that need to go well in order to line that up. Unfortunately, today we will forego booster catch today. But what you're seeing on your screen is ship currently making its way towards the Indian Ocean, still looking good so far.
Exactly. So views there of the booster on the left-hand side of your screen, views of the ship on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, we said before that it was not guaranteed that we would be able to make a tower catch today. So while we were hoping for it, like we said, it was pretty epic on attempt 1, but the safety of the teams and the public and the pad itself are paramount. So we are accepting no compromises in any of those areas.
Exactly, and we're still going to get a lot of good flight data with booster even, but especially with ship. Again, we have an additional objective today to do an in-space relight of a Raptor engine, which again will help us set us up for being able to do deorbit burns, which is
Ship chamber pressure is nominal.
which is important for orbital flights. And what you're seeing on your screen is a view from Super Heavy as it's making its way back down to Earth.
Yeah, once again, we are attempting an offshore landing of the Super Heavy booster. So we have seen this before, and it is still very fun to watch, watching it come down for a soft splashdown off the Gulf Coast of Texas. We can see it there re-entering. We saw earlier those grid fins. There are 4 hypersonic grid fins. Oh, we can see that the landing burn has begun on the Super Heavy booster.
And same pattern, 13 engines relight, gone down to 3 just as we expected. And what an incredible view of splashdown that we got today of Super Heavy.
Yeah, I'm sure the buoy cam views will be pretty awesome once again. So we'd like to confirm a water landing once again for the Super Heavy booster. Congrats to the SpaceX team for making that milestone as well. Now, ship continues to look good. We can see that it is, while all of that was happening, the crowd here in Hawthorne continuing to react to all these amazing views that we're getting. The next milestone is...
Starship is in terminal guidance.
Great news there. Starship terminal guidance, referring to what we see here on our screen, the upper stage, at about 8 minutes, 35 seconds or so, we have ship engine cutoff, which will be the cutoff of the Raptor engines. We can see on our screen ship giving us some incredible views brought to us by Starlink. This view is also very interesting because we can see basically the receding tile line that we referred to earlier, where we mentioned we have removed a number of heat shield tiles in order to test out and push the envelope on the ship and demonstrate what its capabilities are.
Ship engine cutoff.
And there we just heard call out for SECO, ship engine cutoff. Great news there. Everything continuing to look awesome for ship.
and we've done it on ship landing burns. We just haven't done it in this microgravity environment where your propellant management and a lot of other things are different as you're now weighed
Relight
down by
demo
the force
startup.
of Earth's gravity.
And
Just
shut down.
heard the call out for startup. There's some light. There's that Raptor relit. And shut down. All right, there you have it. The first time ever lighting a Raptor while in outer space, other than our ascent burn. So really cool to see that relit. That's a pretty critical capability that we're going to need when we're doing orbital missions in the not too distant future.
Yeah, obviously we were hoping to come back to the tower, but this was a test and we knew that it was a very viable possibility.
Starship is at 85 kilometers. Flaps now have control of the vehicle.
All right, great news there, turning our attention over to the star of the show here, giving us these amazing views once again. We heard the call out there telling us that the Starship vehicle is now 83 kilometers above, coming up around T plus, well, now actually, the ship, as you can see, is beginning to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. As a reminder, one of the main goals of today's flight test is for the ship to make it through the extreme heat of re-entry and to do so in a controlled manner. Now, re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communication capability with the spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is roughly 8 kilometers per second or about 5 miles per second. Now, at those speeds, yep, pretty fast. The spacecraft is moving through the atmosphere rather quickly, and that results in friction, as we can see that starting to happen on our screen, and this creates a plasma field around the vehicle. That blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies, so it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication.
Starship is approaching the peak heating phase of entry.
And we just heard we're getting into the peak heating phase. We're getting these views courtesy of Starlink. We've got 4 different terminals on the ship itself. It's what's really allowed us to get real-time data during what's otherwise been just a mystery box, essentially, for spacecraft design, where when you're re-entering through the atmosphere, at least getting anything in real time hasn't ever been possible before, but we're able to not just get these views, but real-time telemetry from the ship as it's coming through. Do really want to stress that we are really pushing the ship today. The heat shield is not in the same configuration as it was last flight, where we had a team of ship techs do just an otherworldly task, replacing the entire heat shield, thousands of tiles, installing a backup ablative, and that pretty much set us up to do a pinpoint landing on Flight 5. We did not do that with this one. We have some backup in those really sensitive areas around the flap, but this is an older generation heat shield. And knowing we weren't going to do that, we even went and removed some extra tiles. There are some missing tiles on the nose cone where we're testing some backups. There are some steel-covered tiles in a couple of different spots. And there's also a whole lot more steel of the ship showing. As you guys talked about, we gave it a little bit of a haircut, a couple hundred tiles trimmed off the sides, and that's where we might have catch fittings in the future. But ooh, color's starting to come in. So it looks like things are going to start heating up, Kate and Jesse.
Yeah, fun fact, Dan, we actually removed 2,100 heat shield tiles from Starship in order to basically present that necessary receding line, which you kind of can see there in your view. think back to previous flights, the heat shield line came up further on the vehicle. And just like Dan said, we want to test the vehicle beyond what we think it is capable of carrying based on our simulations and calculations. So once again, to just be super plain, don't be surprised if we see some wackadoodle stuff happen here. We won't be. There are a number of things that we are testing out intentionally to see what the ship can take.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing what those limits are will really help us design the vehicle of the future. Essentially, removing those tiles helps us remove a lot of weight from the vehicle, a lot of things that might potentially need refurbishment in the future. And the goal is to come up with a heat shield pattern or design that we don't have to refurbish. We can just continue to use it over and over again. And that's why we're changing some of those tiles and moving stuff around, removing a lot of those tiles, as Kate has been mentioning.
Exactly. And, looking forward to the Starship capability of the future, we want to be able to catch Starship like we do with boosters. And so the next flight, we want to better understand where we can install catch hardware, not necessarily to actually do the catch, but to see how that hardware holds up in those spots. And today's flight will help inform, does the stainless steel hold up like we think it may based on experiments that we conducted on Flight 5? Now, continuing to look, amazing views. Yeah, Dan, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's so much on this flight that we're doing to try and, make all the ships that we're about to start flying even better, just really understand what their capabilities are going to be. We've got kind of the next-gen ship lined up for Flight 7. It's got all of those heat shield upgrades and everything. And one of the things that we're going to be doing that's most interesting, and one of the reasons we wanted daylight, is we're going to be flying pretty aggressively as ship comes in. We're going to be kind of nose down, and we've done it in wind tunnels. We've done it in simulations. You might see the flaps really flapping around trying to control the vehicle. We're betting we might have a little bit more capability than we think in just the analysis, but always a chance that bet doesn't pay off. But that just helps us know what are our
Starship
limits.
is now halfway through the peak heating phase of entry.
Sweet. Halfway there. Halfway home, guys.
Yeah, and if you guys, again, can follow along with the altitude and the speed of ship as it's making its way back down to Earth, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Speed is still going really, really fast. Again, as it gets closer to Earth, we'll see that altitude drop a little bit faster. It's kind of dropping pretty slow right now. And again, as we get closer and closer to literally the surface of the water, then we'll start to see that speed pick up. And if we can make it through this re-entry, we will attempt to do that flip maneuver once again and splash down in the ocean.
Exactly. Like we've been saying, we are testing beyond the perceived limits of the vehicle. We want to go learn more about the ship, and this is a great opportunity to do that. So really pushing the flight hardware in a flight environment to help inform these future designs. As we've mentioned, it has a different heat shield. This heat shield is not the same generation as what we flew last time. This one is one generation older. So we are also testing out new secondary thermal protection materials. So basically, if the heat shield isn't in this one spot, can this other material protect the metal is the thinking there. Also, checking of the ship's structural strength in those areas where we're looking to add that ship catch hardware just to see if it survives entry. So yeah, as we've been saying, we've done a lot of calculations and simulations. This view right here is super cool. This is looking out from the aft engine bay, basically at the bottom of Starship. Then on the center left-hand panel, if you will, we have one of the forward Starship flaps, so one of the flaps located at the top of the vehicle. Underneath that is one of the aft end flaps, like the one that we see in the main picture there on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, these views as the vehicle continues to enter the Earth's atmosphere, drawing a crowd once again here at SpaceX in Hawthorne as folks tune in as the mission continues on. Now, the next event that we have coming up, we should hear the call out that the vehicle is transonic around T plus 1 hour and 2 minutes or so. That means that the vehicle is traveling near the speed of sound. We say near the speed of sound because there are certain parts of the vehicle where airflow is going faster and other parts where it's going slower. So it kind of teeters there on the brink of the speed of sound. So once we have equal flow on all parts, then we'll hear it's subsonic.
Yeah,
and almost real quick, almost a reverse of, I'm sorry, Jesse, almost a reverse of before. We see the Earth starting to come into view. We've got sunrise there over the Indian Ocean. So this is going to look different from any of the reentries we've had before. And it was specifically so like we get as much daylight as possible to see how ship does this. Over to you, Jesse. Sorry about that.
Dan, great minds think alike. That's exactly what I was going to point out, is that we're getting a lot clearer view of the Earth in the background with the different temperatures that we're seeing, with the different colors of that plasma around the ship, which is really, really cool to see. Again, we are pushing the limits of ship today, but so far everything is looking pretty nominal. We'll see how the next few minutes goes.
Yeah. Like we've said before, don't be surprised if this is not entirely smooth sailing all the way down to the ocean's surface. Similar to Flight 5, we are targeting the same splashdown location in the Indian Ocean, but we are not expecting to recover the vehicle.
Right, and we were getting some glimpses of the flaps. The flaps so far are looking pretty good. We're not seeing any burn through. There's those flaps again in that hinge area, which is our most concerning area there. That's great news for us for now. Again, the next few minutes could change as we continuously push those limits.
Yeah, once we slow down a little bit, once we're subsonic essentially, so I think that's about 1,200 kilometers an hour. Once we're down below that, that's when we're going to kind of dip our nose down and get that more aggressive angle of attack. Normally we're just belly flop right into the water, pretty much that position. But if we're going to be able to do return to launch sites, we're going to want to be able to fly with a little bit more of an angle of attack, get you a little bit more range as you're coming through. And so this'll be just a test to see quite how far can we push it. And obviously we're going to do these kind of tests way out here in super remote areas before you ever try to bring a ship back to a place like Starbase.
Starship remains on a good entry trajectory. External temperatures are coming down.
All right, great news there. That tells us that we are through the phase of peak heating. So we are expecting these temperatures to continue to come down. Once again, we are targeting a soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean around off the northwest coast of Australia. We can see these beautiful views of planet Earth coming in. Yeah, this is very different, where we had nighttime views of the ship as it was re-entering. And now we've got daylight. It is about an hour or so after sunrise there in the Indian Ocean. So pretty cool to see this.
Yeah, and it might not seem like it makes a huge difference, but we do get a little bit more light on ship as well for the camera views that we have, which is very beneficial for us to visually see anything and try and correlate that to any of the sensors or data that we have on the vehicle.
Exactly. That is why we shifted our launch window so that we could have that daylight in order to improve our observations of the vehicle. So not only are we getting all the raw data from all the sensors that are on board Starship, but we also have multiple cameras and assets out there that are watching the vehicle and will also be able to tell us with this visual story that is also very, very important.
And as we get down a little bit lower, the Raptor engines are in their chill phase right now, so just essentially getting them primed to turn on. We're going to use those 3 center engines to do a landing flip and then a landing burn. So we'll come down kind of in that slightly pointed down belly flop and then fire off those engines to flip us around and then do that final landing burn. That should be coming up in just under 5 minutes from now. And then hopefully we start hearing some call outs on transonic and subsonic as we slow down. Again, once you hear Starship as subsonic, keep a close eye on the flaps. They're going to be working overtime essentially to maintain control of the ship as we get a little more aggressive with this.
We can see that we are beginning.
Starship has passed maximum entry dynamic pressure.
All right, great call out there. But we can see on this view here that we do have some heating there on that looks like one of the forward flaps on Starship. This is to be expected. We knew that the vehicle would perform differently than what we had seen on Flight 5. This is actually really good data because it tells us what parts of the vehicle at this, what will soon be a higher angle of attack once we drop down below the speed of sound. We'll have a higher angle of attack, meaning we're going to be flying nose down, basically. So yeah, this is good news, but we can actually, looks like that heating is starting to cool off there.
Yeah, it's a little burn through. Again, it is important to note when we start seeing that through the ship's descent as well. So like Kate was saying, we're getting some really good data here. It looks like the other flaps are doing a little better than the one that has a little burn through, which is some good news. Again, constantly watching. We've got a couple minutes until we're expecting to make it all the way back down to Earth.
Exactly. And like we said before, we are not expecting to recover the ship, although that would be great. It'd be a nice bonus if it happened, but it's not really in our expectations today. We really want to push the hardware, as we've been saying, but really the telemetry and the data and the video that we receive all the way to the end is truly what we're looking for and will help inform the future designs of this vehicle.
We can see some flap movement as the camera is moving around. That's what you're seeing there is the flaps adjusting. And we have a camera on one of the flaps there this is the view that you're seeing there. And you can also see the graphic in the bottom.
Starship is slowing down past Mach 1.
And call-outs aligning with this, you can see the orientation of the vehicle starting to change. You can follow that graphic at the bottom of your screen. Again, that is why those flaps are changing. They control the orientation of the vehicle.
Yeah, there are four. Go ahead, Dan.
Starship has started the subsonic belly flop, remains on a good trajectory.
I was going to say this is when things will start to get a little interesting. So this is when we're moving slower than the speed of sound. You can see that nose slowly start to tip down, and we're going to try and maintain flap control the whole way. But we are just a couple minutes away from hopefully doing a landing flip and landing burn if the flaps can hold together.
Yeah, this is such a cool view. This reminds me of when we first performed the belly flop maneuver on the high altitude test with serial number 8. We saw the ship come back through, and I always wondered what it looked like from the ship's perspective, and this perspective, I think, helps inform that. We will be, as Dan said, we will be dipping down a little further and really be flying nose first. This higher angle of attack, we're intentionally doing it to stress those aft flaps, and that will help inform the limits of flap control in order to collect data for future landing profiles.
I mean, we're looking good so far. We've just got about 5 kilometers in altitude to go. We'll ignite the engines when we're still just a couple hundred meters over the ground, do that flip.
Starship is passing through 5 kilometers altitude, remains on a good trajectory.
I have a feeling this is going to look so cool as it passes through the clouds.
Obligatory shout out to the entire avionics team on Starship.
And there's that nose down orientation.
Now the Raptor engines will relight and help flip the booster back up. This is a more severe flip given the orientation. The engines will shut down prior to the water making impact, prior to the vehicle making impact with the water.
Our ship is doing great so far. There's those engines relighting.
What a great reorientation by Starship.
Wow.
All three down to 2 into the water.
Starship is landed.
Wow.
And we have ship splashed down in the Indian Ocean.
Some awesome buoy cam action here. Daylight
There's
Incredible. We really pushed the limits on shipping and made it all the way back down to Earth.
I am shocked, to be honest. I think many folks are. The fact that it survived all the way through while flying a lesser gen heat shield is just absolutely incredible. And turns out the vehicle had more capability than our calculations predicted. And that is why we test like we fly.